Picture this, Habs faithful. The Montreal Canadiens are building something real, something tangible, something that has the entire hockey world paying attention. Our Eastern Conference final run proved beyond any reasonable doubt that this team is no longer a project. We are a legitimate threat. But Kent Hughes understands better than anyone that reaching the conference final and winning the Stanley Cup require fundamentally different roster construction. And one of the most critical pieces missing from our championship puzzle sits on the right side of our blue line. We need a proven, physical, shut-down right-shot defenseman capable of eating top 4 minutes and making life genuinely miserable for opposing forwards. And right now, one name is emerging from the trade market with compelling force: Rasmus Ristolainen of the Philadelphia Flyers. Let's establish the foundation of this conversation with the intelligence that matters most. Sportsnet's Elliotte Friedman, one of the most plugged-in and reliable insiders in the entire sport, reported leading up to the 2026 NHL trade deadline that the Canadiens had genuine interest in Ristolainen. This wasn't casual speculation or uninformed rumor-mongering. This was a direct signal from one of hockey's most credible sources that Kent Hughes identified the specific player as a solution to a specific roster need. The trade deadline passed without a deal materializing, but the organizational interest was clearly established and documented. Now, with the offseason machinery spinning at full velocity, there is every reason to believe that interest is being rekindled and that conversations could accelerate significantly in the coming weeks. Let's build the case for Ristolainen by examining what he actually brings to a roster, because his profile is more nuanced and more valuable than a casual glance at his statistics might suggest. In 44 games this season with Philadelphia, he recorded 1 goal, 14 points, 48 hits, 63 block shots, and a remarkable plus 10 rating. Let's sit with those last 2 numbers for a moment. 63 block shots in 44 games. A plus 10 rating on a Philadelphia Flyers team that is nowhere near the organizational quality of the Montreal Canadiens. These are the numbers of a defenseman who is committed, physical, and genuinely effective in his own zone. A player who puts his body in front of pucks without hesitation, and who consistently makes the right defensive read to keep his team on the right side of the score sheet. The physical dimension is equally significant. 48 hits in 44 games means Ristolainen is delivering more than 1 hit per game, consistently finishing his checks and making opposing forwards pay a real physical price for attempting to establish themselves in our zone. In a league that increasingly rewards speed and skill over physicality, having a defenseman who can impose his will physically without sacrificing his defensive structure is a genuinely valuable and increasingly rare commodity. He brings a kind of intimidating, hard-edged defensive presence that forces forwards to think twice before driving to the net or camping in the corner. Now let's examine the specific pairing that makes this acquisition so tactically compelling. Lane Hutson is one of the most exciting offensive defensemen in the entire National Hockey League. A player whose skating, vision, and offensive instincts create havoc for opposing penalty kills and generate genuine scoring chances from the blue line. But every dynamic offensive defenseman needs a right partner, a player whose strengths compensate for and protect against the inherent defensive vulnerabilities that come with an attack-minded game. Ristolainen is built for exactly this complementary role. His size, his physicality, his shutdown defensive instincts, and his willingness to handle the dirty defensive assignments would allow Hutson to play with the offensive freedom and confidence that makes him so dangerous, without exposing our defensive structure to the kind of vulnerabilities that opponents could ruthlessly exploit. This is a kind of defensive pairing that championship teams are built around. One player who creates offense and drives play up the ice, another who locks down the defensive zone and protects his partner's aggressive tendencies. Think of the classic NHL pairings throughout history, where an offensive dynamo was anchored by a defensively responsible partner. Ristolainen and Hutson could become one of the most effective and balanced second pairings in the entire Eastern Conference, a combination that opposing coaches would genuinely struggle to match up against. The penalty kill dimension of this acquisition deserves significant emphasis. Our penalty kill has been a persistent area of concern, a structural vulnerability that opposing power plays have identified and exploited in crucial moments. Ristolainen's shutdown ability, his aggressive stick positioning, his willingness to block shots, and his physical play along the boards make him a natural, instinctive penalty killer. Adding him to our penalty kill unit would immediately improve one of our most critical special team components, reducing the frequency with which opponents can capitalize on our penalties, and protecting leads in the most pressure-filled moments of playoff hockey. The contractual structure of this acquisition is another genuinely compelling feature. Ristolainen carries a $5.1 million cap hit that runs through only next season, meaning we're talking about a one-year commitment at a reasonable, manageable price point. This is not a long-term gamble or a cap-crippling investment. This is a precisely targeted, cost-controlled acquisition designed to address an immediate need without compromising our long-term financial flexibility. If Ristolainen thrives in Montreal's system and proves he deserves a longer commitment, Hughes can negotiate an extension from a position of strength. If the fit isn't perfect, his contract expires naturally and our cap situation remains clean and flexible for the next wave of roster decisions. The Philadelphia angle further reduces our acquisition cost in a meaningful way. The Flyers are in active rebuild mode, prioritizing youth development and accumulating future assets over winning games today. For Philadelphia, Ristolainen, at 30 years old, doesn't fit the long-term organizational vision. Moving him this summer allows him to free up cap space, potentially acquire a draft pick or a young prospect, and clear a roster spot for a younger defenseman further along in their developmental pipeline. This alignment of organizational motivations, Philadelphia wanted to shed a veteran contract and Montreal needing exactly what that veteran provides, creates the conditions for a deal that works elegantly for both sides without requiring either team to overpay. Consider also the broader defensive picture this acquisition helps complete. Our defensive core is built around the exceptional offensive talent of Hudson and the developing two-way game of players like David Reinbacher and Jaden Struble. What we currently lack is a kind of experienced, physically imposing, defensively responsible presence that grounds the back end and gives our entire defensive structure a harder, more resilient edge. Ristolainen provides that grounding force, that immovable defensive anchor that makes the players around him more confident and more effective. His presence would elevate our entire defensive group, not just through his individual contributions, but through the collective confidence his physicality and defensive reliability inspire. Martin St. Louis has consistently demonstrated an extraordinary ability to maximize what players do best, to create environments where athletes rediscover their confidence and perform at levels that sometimes surprise even their most optimistic supporters. Ristolainen, operating in a clearly defined complementary role alongside Hudson on a genuine Stanley Cup contending team, in a city where hockey is treated as the most important thing in the world, could absolutely deliver his best hockey. The motivational context of playing for the Montreal Canadiens in their championship window is not an insignificant factor. So, let's throw the sharpest, most divisive question of this defensive trade conversation directly at the passionate Habs faithful. Rasmus Ristolainen offers size, physicality, shutdown defensive play, and penalty kill expertise at a manageable one-year cap hit, a cost-controlled solution to our most pressing blue line need. But he is 30 years old with only 1 year remaining on his deal, which means this is explicitly a short-term fix rather than a long-term answer. Do you want Hughes to pursue Ristolainen aggressively as the right-shot defensive complement that completes our blue line this summer? Or should the Canadiens be targeting a younger, longer-term defensive solution, even if the cost and assets is significantly higher? What's your call? Smart, targeted short-term fix or swing for a younger blue line cornerstone? Drop your most passionate argument in the comments right now, and let's ignite this debate until it burns hotter than the Bell Center on a Game 7 night. As we continue mapping every critical offseason move on our relentless path toward the Stanley Cup, the pursuit of Rasmus Ristolainen represents exactly the kind of calculated, intelligent, complementary acquisition that transforms good rosters into championship rosters. If this analysis fires up your passion for Bleu, Blanc, ET Rouge, smash that like button and subscribe immediately. We are covering every rumor, every negotiation, every bold strategic decision as Kent Hughes builds our championship roster. Habs Nation, the window is open. The pieces are falling into place, and the Stanley Cup is closer than it has ever been. Let's bring it home.